Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hera TV. My name is Laleh Hancock, and today I am in Houston, Texas. And I love it because I get to now interview a new dear friend, Shelli Brunswick. Hey, Shelli, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be joining you.
And wow, you and I are going to have many, many different kinds of conversation about many things, including space. But tell me more. Where are you today that we're having this conversation?
Fantastic. Well, I'm located in Colorado Springs, which is the world headquarters of the Space Foundation. And Space Foundation is a U.S. nonprofit that does business internationally, primarily through three divisions. So we have our Symposium 365. So we do the world premiere event for space activities. We do educational programs, so capacity building, so kindergarten through 12th grade, teaching teachers, entrepreneurial facilitation, and then Global Alliance, which is all about building partnerships so that together we can create the world we want.
Well, how often do I get the great pleasure of having someone here who has all this expertise in space? So tell me, what was it? What was that moment that you think like kind of opened the door for this exploration for you?
Well, fortunately for me, the US Air Force made my decision for me. I had enlisted in the Air Force right out of high school. And so during my enlistment time, I would go to school at night so I could get my bachelor's and master's degree. And I was a personnel specialist. However, once I completed those degrees, I was able to apply to become an officer in the Air Force. And when I did that, the Air Force made the decision that I should become a space program manager. Now, I didn't really know what that was. And at the time, I didn't really want to do it. But fortunately, the Air Force let me know that I really didn't have a choice in the matter. So I saluted smartly and I moved forward. And fortunately, that started my 25-year career in the space industry.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I've had a great pleasure in my life to meet a few astronauts. I have met some rocket scientists and others. Like these are kinds of people that I have to say most people don't think they could just have a conversation with, but we do. We get to have this great pleasure of having this conversation with you. So, the path might have opened through the Air Force, but it really was you. It was you driving things forward. It was your willingness never to stop because you didn't know something. So I'd like us to invite, we're here. This is about Hera TV, heracity.org, where we are actually creating something that nobody would say is possible. Partner with a government, a city, and be able to build a city that is there to empower all. So, in these 25 plus years that you got to play in the Air Force, you've empowered so much. I mean, even looking back 25 years ago, most women, they were not officers. And if they were, it wasn't for the space program. So tell me more of like what you found over the years as, those aha moments of no matter what's going on, whether it was easy or hard, like what did you use to get you out of that and actually create something that allowed itself to thrive and then exponentialize? So, share a little bit of that with people.
Well, I think first of all, for your audience, let's really think, what is the space industry and what does it mean to you?
Yeah.
Most times we think back that it's really about what happened 60 years ago. It's about history. It's about the Apollo program. Or maybe for kids, it's about memorizing planets. Like, did you remember Mercury and Venus? And is Pluto a planet or not a planet, right? But when we think back 60 years ago, we need to remember that we were in a space race with two countries, primarily government workers, primarily STEM professionals, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and primarily male.
Yeah.
Let's fast forward to where we are today, where I'm working at Space Foundation now. Now, the space industry has more than 90 countries operating in it, operating in space that are part of the space industry, and many more countries that want to be part of the space industry. We are multi generational, diverse workforce that's young and older, we'll say, male and female, and regions of the world. But even more important is we still need those STEM professionals, those astronauts and rocket scientists you talked about, But we also need program managers and policymakers and media experts and digital twins and smart cities and teachers and artists. We need everything, high school graduate to PhD now in the space industry. So, my takeaway for your audience is continue to improve on yourself, continue to be prepared because when opportunity happens, you need to be able to walk through the door. And that meant for me, in my example, I enlisted in the US Air Force right out of high school. I went to school at night, gave up those weekends and evenings so I could walk through the door and become an officer in a career I had no idea what it even was, space. And now it's become my lifelong passion. And so, my passion today to join you and Hera, and why Hera is so important, not only the media, but the idea of a future city, is because diversity, equity, and inclusion exists in the world, and it certainly exists in the space industry. And I want to be here to help individuals find their way into the space program.
Yeah. Wow. First of all, it's so exciting because we are creating things that have never existed before. And I think that's one of the things that we also have to thank to the people like you, who never gave up. Because so often, it's easy to do it the way everybody else did it, which doesn't leave a lot of room for creativity, magic, and miracles, just doing things out of the box. The in the box can only be good for a certain amount of things at a certain amount of moment. But then it really is us also including the future. It's not just what are you doing today, but what are you putting in place that will allow the space industry or our industry, whatever industry we're in 5 years, in 10 years, in 100 years, in 1,000 years. And sometimes when I say that, people are like, Laleh, we're not going to have this body. But what if it's not about just you and your body? What are you putting in place that is in existence even after you and your body aren't here? And we are benefiting for things people did in 1920s, people did in 1950s, people did in 1990, or even 2022. There's things that we are benefiting today because of those seeds that got planted, because of the things that, you know, they did something that provided more information, more awareness, that guided us to have more creativity in a particular area. So, when we're looking at this, it's not just this moment, it includes this moment, but it really is also about us looking at the future. And I think that's one of the things that gets me excited a couple years into being an advisor with Hera, because today Hera's not only about the city that we are right now raising funds and contributing to actually bring into fruition, but it's empowered people all around the world. Even in the soccer industry of empowering young ladies and women, even in India, bringing shelter, bringing even education to women about their monthly cycle. Like, there's things in our world that, it's so foreign to someone else, but it's like, I don't even think about it. But we have to be those, stepping stones that also empowers all, not based on race, not based on age, but how do we empower truly our world and the people that are in it to be able to create what's going to create greater for them. And I don't know if you know, but one of the magic and miracles of Hera and the city is the marketplace. Because it's not about here's an organization that's really about charity. No, we're here about empowerment. What do you know? Each of us knows something. Most of us know a million things. But how do you apply that? How do you take that also into the marketplace and become an entrepreneur? Be able to provide for yourself, because it's not just about giving people food, but teaching them how to fish. So I'm curious, you have worked with so many different kinds of people, different backgrounds, different education levels, but also different ages and sexes. So what would you say are maybe 3 things that you could put out there, that whether someone is a child in the child body, I would say, or someone who's older, who's not even thinking that they could create a different kind of change, but like to empower people out there, to empower themselves and then become that inspiration.
Well, I have three things that I always love to talk about, and it's about listen, learn, and lead. You know, in today's world, we don't have to be in a formal leadership position. You don't have to be an elected official or work for a government body or a company to be a leader. You can be a leader now in social media and start a movement. I've seen young girls as early as as young as 12 years old start climate change movements around the planet. So being a leader means being able to listen. You know, what are you hearing from people?
Yeah.
Learning from that, internalizing it, and then leading. And leading has three main traits that I look at. I call it global transformational leadership. And those three traits are being inspirational, being authentic, and being grateful. You know, being able to inspire is probably one of the most important traits a leader should have. Inspiring people with your passion, helping them see the next mountaintop and how we're going to get there and getting them excited to go. Being authentic means that you're connecting with people that they know that when you speak, you mean what you say. It's part of your DNA, it's who you are. You're a genuine person and you connect with them. And then it's about being grateful. It's that gratitude of no matter how you got to where you are, as you said, we are standing on the shoulders of others. And we need to be grateful and we need to be servant leaders and pay that forward and help others to find their way, whether it's in the space industry or any other industry, to find their path. And so I think it's all about listening, learning, and leading and being that global transformational leader with passion that's about sharing that inspiration, that authenticity, and being grateful.
Well, I got a sneak peek of actually working with you besides us being here today. Um, Leadership is something so close and dear to my heart. And I think from the minute I was a little girl, that was one of the things that differentiated me. It was always being a leader. And like you said, I work with so many different youth. Like, we don't realize, but small businesses are started by more 12-year-olds than most adults in the US. I can't say that about the other countries, in the US. And it's because they are driven not by the things a parent would think about. Most adults would be like, why can't I do this? Like, they'd be more like, what are the things in my way? Kids are like, screw that. We're not even thinking that way. They're like, what is it I desire to create? Oh, I would like more awareness around global warming, or I would like more, like there was this teenager, he lived in New Jersey. Well, he still does. And he went to India to visit his family. And when he went, he was shocked to the amount of pollution by things in the water. There was a lot of heavy metal, computers, phones, things that was in their water as waste.
Mhm.
And he was like, we have to change this. How do we change this? He went home, called a major firm, and asked if he could borrow their laboratory to come up with something that could be used to help this. And they said yes. I think at the time, don't quote me, he was like 14, 15, 16 years old. And he ended up, being able to create something, and he created it as open source, which meant he wasn't going to own it, but he was opening it up that here's going to be the foundation of this thing that takes heavy metal out of water. But he didn't want it to be that one organization can come and buy him out to be able to shut that off. He wanted it to be that the youth out there, people in business, whatever, they all had access and they could utilize it to create whatever they wanted. He ended up winning some awards for it because it ended up being this incredible product in partnership with this organization. I don't remember which lab he ended up partnering with. It was probably 6 years ago that this came about. And what I love about that is that the youth is not willing to be bullied to stop their creation. They're willing to say, hey, I'm going to do this. Who's going to help me? They're willing to ask for help. Gosh, what would it be like if us adults, we were willing to actually open the door and say, who can contribute to me? I really want to do this. Who's out there? Who's doing it? Who can I learn from? Anyone who messages me, like I have different kinds of conversation with people all around the globe. And it's like, that we are a greater inspiration than we realize. We don't know it because sometimes it's not this formal thing, but it's really that moment you said authentic, and I call it being you. When you're being you, you have no agenda. I have to do it because I'm on media or whatever. You're doing it because it's really you. Those seeds go out into the whole universe in such a different way. People find you, they find your website, they found your social media in ways they don't even know how. But it is because you are spreading your voice and the voice of the future you want to create out there. And so, when you talk about this, I love what you are creating with this book. So you're putting a book together and it's about leadership. So I wonder if you might be able to share a little bit more, because I've been in a lot of leadership books and this one is so unique and so different.
Well, thank you so much. I'm looking at having three main chapters or three main sections for the book, and it's going to be 13 lessons learned over my career. And I picked 13 because of Apollo 13. It's going to have an interstellar guide to success, and that's going to be 5 steps that help individuals find their way to whether it's the space industry or any other industry or follow their passion. And then I'm going to
Uh-huh.
talk more about that global transformational leadership. And I was encouraged to write this book about my journey, and that started the basis, but I've now opened that up to where I'm interviewing 50 to 100 global leaders. And leaders is a strong word because you may be thinking like world leaders, and some of them are former presidents of countries, but I'm also interviewing young people who are wanting to create change. So it's a real diversity of people from around the world, and getting their stories and then pulling them in and intertwining them with my story so people can see what I'm sharing with you really are universal truths. They're not just my truth, they're a universal truth that resonates whether it's here or Zimbabwe or Bahrain or the UK, that you can feel this truth emanates everywhere. So I'm really excited about this. It's one of those works of passion. I want to spend time working on it all the time. The ideas are in my head. And then when I get to interview people, it's amazing. I start hearing them and I'm like, oh my gosh, you're going to be so great in this section, or you're going to be so great in this section. So it's a passion and it's a work of love. And I'm hoping that will be done in about a year, but we're getting there slowly. But I'm just, I'm going to say, I'm just enjoying the process because, many times people are in a rush to complete things, to do things, and then they don't necessarily enjoy the journey. And there's part of me that wants to rush through this and get the book out there. But then there's the part of me that says, I really want to enjoy this journey of writing this book. I want to enjoy interviewing people and learning from them and enjoy the process of creating the book. When I write, for me, it's like putting a puzzle together because I start putting the pieces together and then it slowly shapes together. And when it all comes together, for me, it's like completing a puzzle. And so it's really a fun thing for me. So sometimes for people that write, it's like, oh, it's painful. And it is painful. But for me, it's like putting a puzzle together. So that's a little bit about the book and the process. And we're going to call it Out of This World Leadership. So I think, be on the lookout for it. And in the interim, I'm going to continue to be joining hosts like you and talk about the book as well as, how we work together to create the world we want.
Yeah, because I think that's one of the things that most people don't also realize. Like even this Hera, city that we are creating, it's taking a village from all around the world. It's not just the city and the country we're working with. They don't have the funds to create something like this. So guess what? It's bringing people from all around different parts of the world with different kind of focus, financial capacities and whatever. And there's a trickle coming here. There's trickle coming here. Like everyone's contributing their energy, their finances, and everything else so that we can empower the city to exist. And I think a lot of times people wait. They're like, okay, I'm not going to do this until the money comes. I'm not going to choose this, but it's not. It's the upside down of what we've learned all throughout our lives. The first step is choosing. And before you choose, explore, ask questions. What is it you desire to create? And what would be fun for you? What would be this enthusiasm you have? Because enthusiasm is what's going to keep spreading all those energies out into the greater world. Okay. So what would get you out of bed? So enthusiastic that you want to empower others. It may not be. It may be that you want to paint, whatever it is for you. And then starting to explore and then like, okay, what is it I desire to create? And you starting to take the steps to do that. Who do you need to talk to? Where do you need to go? What actions are required? Because what we don't realize is money also comes with that enthusiasm. People, when there's enthusiasm, they want to contribute, whether it's finances, education, resources, networking, bringing people together. So, what is it you are enthusiastic about? And if you're not, it's okay. Relax. What can you focus on that brings you more enthusiasm? And go from there, because I think, like even the space, like so many people, they put it outside of them, they put it as this thing that is so unreachable, but everything is reachable if we're willing to have the mindset that, you know what, everything is available, we just have to choose it. So we're coming to the end of our show, and I'm curious. You have worked with Mary and so many others at Hera, and like, what's your vision? Let's think Hera in 5 years. What do you perceive?
Well, the one thing I share as a futurist is that the one constant is change, that we will continue to have disruption. We've seen that with COVID, and people are like, oh, when will we go back to normal? Or what is the new normal? And what I share is there is no normal. There is only change and there is disruption. And what we're seeing is technology evolving faster and faster that are going to disrupt things, but also create new opportunities. And that's what Hera is. It's creating a disruption of the status quo to create something new and better. And so, what I see in 5 years is something new and better as Hera continues to grow and develop the city of the future, as the media. And I also share as the space industry will continue to grow. And when you're thinking about space, it's not about out there, it's really about what's here on Earth, because the space community, the space jobs, the space careers, the benefits of space are here on Earth. And so we're really all in this spaceship together called Earth. And eventually we can all live in a city on this spaceship called Earth, called Hera.
Yeah, that is so beautifully said. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful for you. Can't wait to see this book and other things that you are creating come to fruition. So, thank you for being here today. And also, all of you, whether you're watching now or later, so grateful for each of you. And we are each a flavor and a spice into this wonderful world called the Earth. And so the earth requires all of us. So, what is it that you can create today? And what is it you can choose? And if you guys ever have any questions, heracity.org, as well as we have Hera Media Group, which is where you guys are watching this or listening to. You're always welcome to message us on social media or on the website. And what future can we create together? So, until next time, thank you, everyone. Wishing you all a great day.
Thank you. And I look forward to seeing all of you around the galaxy.